For the next 45 minutes or so, we're going to hear from two of our remarkable Math Alliance leaders, David Goldberg and Phil Kutzko. They're going to share some information with us on how the Alliance has been doing this past year. They'll also look at the numbers, exciting, right? And tell us what our scholars and other members of our community have been up to lately. We'll also like to hear from you in our Q&A session. Please, welcome back, David and Phil.
Thank you, Kendra. Really appreciate you handling the morning ceremonies. Hi, Phil.
Hey, David.
How you doing?
Good.
Good. So we're just going to, usually we do a report that takes a lot of detail. We don't think that's a good environment for that. So we're going to sort of do a short version of that. And hopefully we'll have plenty of time for you to ask questions through the swap card of us about what we're doing. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Should be coming up. Here we go. All right. So ready to talk about what's been going on with the Math Alliance really for the last year. So Phil, why don't you tell us a little bit about this slide?
Okay, it'd be my pleasure. First of all, I want to say good morning or afternoon, depending on where you are, everyone. And I'd like to make a brief announcement that this is the director's 59th birthday, and Mr. Goldberg. And I want everybody to please wish him a happy birthday. In this time of mixed media, you have all kinds of ways to communicate with him. You can send him a chat. You can give him a cell phone, but he probably wouldn't like that. So by all means, happy birthday to you, David. Happy birthday.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
All right.
This is a great way to spend my birthday. It is, actually.
Absolutely. So, all right.
You're all a great birthday gift to me.
Okay. Well, I've been with the Alliance from the beginning, and I wanted to tell you a little bit about the three phases that I see in our growth. First of all, at the beginning, which was roughly from 2002 to 2006, the Alliance had a wonderful genesis in a partnership between the three Iowa Regents institutions, the University of Iowa, Iowa State, and the University of Northern Iowa, and four historically Black schools. And that was how we started out. I should name them as well. So that's Florida A&M, Alabama A&M, Jackson State, and Benedict College in South Carolina. I'm very happy to see in the audience some of the original founders of the Alliance, and that would include Leslie Hogben at Iowa State University. I'm very happy to see her here, and Doug Mupasiri from the University of Northern Iowa. So that's a little bit of history. They've been with us a long time, and we're very proud of that. About 2006, we all understood that we were successful, that the Iowa Regents institutions didn't have the capacity to take all the new minority students that we were finding. We found them because we built ties with large numbers of mentors, faculty members at minority serving institutions. And so we, at that time, applied for NSF, or actually changed our NSF money. We were an NSF funded organization. And for the next 10 years, we grew. You want to put that slide back there? Thank you.
Didn't know that happened.
Yeah. Okay, there we go. All right. And so for the next 10 years or so, we grew rapidly. During that time, we built a sort of a structure that imitated what we'd done in our original partnership, which was we had doctoral program groups, graduate program groups, groups of graduate faculty that worked closely with us. We began to build regional alliances, and David will say a little bit more about that. And then towards the end, our greatest achievement so far is our FGAP program, which stands for Facilitated Graduate Admissions Procedure. And that's the program, as David will give you the numbers, that has been a transition between undergraduate and graduate school and has been working so well. We had agreed with NSF from the beginning that we were going to find a way to institutionalize ourselves, and we kept our word. And luckily for us, Purdue University stepped up and has been supporting us very well, has provided us with a new home. We have an administrative structure at Purdue that we call the Center. Even better for us, as you can see from just looking at the two of us and some of the others, we started out as largely white and with some exceptions, largely male. And we knew that that was just a caretaker operation, and that we'd be handing this over to our minority colleagues, and we couldn't have been more happier. We have a whole new generation of leaders that David's going to tell you about over the last 2 years. We're very proud of that. We've also, through the center, institutionalized our relationships with doctoral program groups, and we have members of the center, which are department ones. And we're very proud now to have university partners. We'll be talking more about that as we go along. We also have industrial and professional organization partners, which we'll be telling you about. And then we have a wonderful beginning of a national program that's called BAM, and we'll be talking about that as well. So let me give it back to David now, who's going to tell you our numbers over the last couple of years.
Yeah. All right. So thank you, Phil. So we always like to put up this chart here, which tells us how we've been growing. So just to go through it, the blue is the number of faculty mentors we have, the red being all the students we've had contact with over the year, and the green are the active students. We call someone active if they've participated in a program within the last 18 months, or they participated in a program before that and are now a doctoral student or a master's student. And just to run down some of these numbers, these actually are even short of what we're probably have. So the active scholars, we're at 776, and total scholars, 2,204, though this doesn't include, because we just haven't had time to update the database, does not include all the students who were nominated for this conference that are new to us. So that may be another 50 to 100 students. So we're really happy about that and growing very strongly. Mentors were up almost to 1,200, 1,176, and this is up about 100 since March, so even during COVID, we're still managing to reach a lot of mentors, and they're becoming interested in us, and that's due to all of you. I mean, because mostly we spread by word of mouth, so thank you. FGAP this year, we have 72 with the fact right now, but there are some that are still being processed. So it will be up closer to 80 to 85, I think, when we're done, as I said yesterday, and that's just what we expect. We maybe would have seen a little more this year, as I'm going to explain. So we're going to start a program hopefully next week called Co-FGAP. The reason is, as we've gone through getting ready for this conference, we realized there maybe are 30 or 40 students who in a normal year would have been nominated for FGAP, but because of logistics and COVID, they just weren't. And we don't want to include them in FGAP because they're not going to get the full program, and we want that data to be consistent, but we're going to create a parallel program called Co-FGAP for them. And so we're just going to do the same things for them we do for FGAP students, which are provide them with a mentor to navigate their path to graduate school. And then I mentioned yesterday, our total scholars in PhD programs is 348. Large group of those came through the FGAP program. And we expect now, probably in the next year, to see 30 to 40 of our FGAP students get PhDs. So far, we've got a total students, pre-doctoral students. That means they were part of our community before they went to a doctoral program. We have 121 of those students have earned doctorates. And new to us this year, I said 26 yesterday, but I think I may have misspoken. We think it's 23 now. We keep learning about more, of course, and we're going to just see how that's growing over the last few years. As you see, these are all different categories of PhDs we have. So among our pre-doctoral scholars, most, as you see, the blue are in the math sciences, and as we expect, a lot of them are underrepresented minorities. And some of you who have really good memories and remember some of these numbers from last year may have noticed that, for instance, the 2018 number is higher than it was when we reported last year. Well, that's because a lot of times we find out about these PhDs a year or two after you earn them. So this year, we certainly expect to be over 30 with the number that we've seen already this year. All right. So speaking of our PhDs, we always like to honor them at the dinner on Friday. Usually we read these names. Of course, we don't have a dinner, and we think it's sort of probably not good use of our airtime to read them all, but we'll throw up the slides and just let you see the information we have on. These are all doctorates that we know about now at this time, at this Field of Dreams conference, that we didn't know about a year ago when we reported. So as you see, some of them will be from 2019 and some of them from 2020. And I have 3 slides of them, so I'll give about 30, 40 seconds maybe on each one. And I don't know if Phil has a comment, he can make it while we fill the airtime.
Yes, I was just going to comment about how proud we are of these students. And yes, when I speak again, I would like to comment also to the folks who are listening about what a community building exercise this is. A substantial minority of these students, probably a majority, but a substantial number of these students go on into academic life. And although we're very proud of the ones who also go into industry and government, but the ones who go into academic life almost invariably become New Alliance mentors. And a number of them are on our leadership team now. So we're very, very proud of that. And we're proud of the new doctorates. It's one of the great moments in all of our lives here to see these wonderful new students coming out and to know that the numbers are changing as to the percentage of underrepresented students getting paid into mathematics.
Yeah. All right, great. So let's talk a little bit about our new Executive Council, which we did announce last year, but they really started their work officially in March. So Terrence Blackman from Medgar Evers College at the City University of New York is a great supporter of ours and is doing a lot of interesting things for us. We've remarked a couple times that Terrence, by the way, has a very distinguished research career. It's in number theory, which is the same, and in fact, is sort of in the same narrow part of number theory as Phil and I, actually. Bill Velez is also a number theorist. We find it sort of ironic that we're the ones who are trying to lead the charge into sort of the new and developing fields of quantitative science, because we're as far from that in our research work as we can be, and Terrence is there along with us. We also are really pleased to have Pamela Harris from Williams College join our council. She is just a bundle of energy and ideas. And she, by the way, she was one of the members of the agenda committee to set the agenda for this meeting. And we're really proud of her and all the work she does for us. And also she does a great deal of work. She's doing this AMS series for mentoring students right now, which has been just fantastic. And she just does a tremendous amount for our profession, even outside of the Alliance.
She runs a blog as well. We should mention
right.
the blog. Right.
So, Phil, you want to say something about Jackie?
Yes, absolutely. Jackie Hughes Oliver, I count as a friend and a colleague. She was one of the earlier, what we call doctoral program groups that we've been working very closely with North Carolina State University. Jackie now is on the executive council, and is she in charge of statistics as well, David?
She is also, our director for statistics.
Our director of statistics. As you may know, Catherine Challoner, who passed away, was our original director, and now Leslie McClure, who stepped up and is now, as we're going to hear in a minute, the chair of our council, had represented statistics, and now Jackie has been kind enough to take that over. She has been a stalwart, not just with the Alliance, but in outreach to the historically Black schools in the North Carolina area and in the whole region there. And it's just been a pleasure to work with her all these years. We're so pleased that she stepped up on our leadership team.
And so we should also mention Leslie, who's been on the council, I think, since 2014. And as Phil mentioned, she took over the role. Catherine Challoner had started with the Statistics Initiative and being the Associate Director for Statistics. We recently just had a meeting of the Statistics Initiative, actually a month ago today exactly, and we had 70 faculty, I think more than 70 faculty join that meeting, and we're getting tremendous reach into the statistical science community, and we're really happy about that. Okay, and Phil?
Yeah, let me just say a couple of words about Kendra, and you can also, if you will, put up Roberto as well. Okay, so what I'm especially touched by is to name two former students at the University of Iowa, Kendra Middleton. Kendra Middleton was one of our very first Alliance scholars. I believe she came to the University of Iowa in 2002, which meant that she was one of the original students in the partnership we had with Florida A&M, which is where she came from. She was in testing and measurement, which is an unusual program at Iowa for having been very supportive of minority students for many, many years at a time when, as you know, standard tests are not always given such a good headlines in that area. She's now at Howard University. She's a dear friend of our family, and we're just grateful that she's playing this new role. Roberto Soto and his wife, Melissa, came from Cal State Fullerton, as you can see. They were an interesting story. They were so eager to go to graduate school that they actually paid their way across the country and visited several universities that they had heard would be good places for minority students to go. One of them was the University of Nebraska, which has a wonderful program, and the other was the University of Iowa. I just happened to be in my office when they showed up, and I was very lucky to have the opportunity to talk to Roberto. Roberto got a strong PhD in algebra, and he's now at Fullerton, and as so many people at the Cal State schools do, he's a man of many parts. He's on the one hand doing research in his own field, pure mathematics, but he's also doing research in math education, and he's just one of these leaders that we're going to have in the future that we're so pleased to have as part of the Alliance.
And we're going to hear from him later today too, as well. So the rest of our leadership team, I'll just throw this up, not go through it point by point again, but most of these are people who have been with us for a while in some role or another. We've renamed some of them their roles, but they're essentially doing the same thing. But I do want to point out one we announced last year has been really cemented in since then is our Associate Director for Industrial Relations, Adrian Coles, from Eli Lilly and Company, and he's just been a tremendous help in helping us reach people in the private sector who are very interested in our students. And I think you saw some of them yesterday at the fair. And also Roosevelt Johnson has been a tremendous help to us and is now our Associate Director for Infrastructure. He came to us from NASA, where he just recently retired. Before that, he was at the NSF, and actually he created, if any of you know, the AGEP program. He's the genius of the AGEP program. It was his idea, and he made it work. And then we mentioned Jackie Hughes Oliver is now our Associate Director for Statistics, as well as being on our Executive Council. And Joan Evans handles our relations with HBCU institutions. And Oscar Vega has taken on the role of organizing our regional alliance and is doing just a tremendous job with that. And you're going to hear from him later today as well. And then our former council, we now call our Elders Council.
For 1 minute. You got David Hunter. Don't
thank you for reminding me. Yeah, David Hunter has taken on the role of trying to help us build partnerships, and both with academic and industrial institutions. So thank you, Phil, for reminding me.
He's one of them. He's from one of our partners.
Exactly. So, and then our Elders Council, that's our former council who continue to advise us. They claim they're going to do less and less of that, but we still rely on them very heavily. So, so our partners, we should mention, we're really thankful for our partners. The ones that we've had for a while, university partners, Penn State, Purdue University, of course, my home institution, we're very proud of that relationship. Minnesota has been such a strong partner in so many ways, and Washington University in St. Louis. But all of these institutions have been with us for a few years at least, and are really, in some sense, have been the backbone of our support in many ways. We've also picked up some new partners in the last couple of years. This one we announced last year, which was the American Statistical Association. And we couldn't be happier to start partnering with our professional organizations. And also, of course, IMA, who is staging this conference. They also staged our summer workshop for our FGAP students, and they did a brilliant job with that this year, which made us think about maybe we could do something with this conference right here. And then we're really pleased. I announced it yesterday, of course, but we have a new partner just in the last couple of months, Arizona State University, and they've come on and supported us in such a strong way that's allowed us to do things this fall that probably we wouldn't have been able to. And I think Phil is going to tell us a little more about that.
Right. So this has been a wonderful thing for us. And again, I think it has to do with the building community. Arizona State had a big program. Could you put, I guess I'm up there. If someone could put that screen up so I can see it as well. Great. Okay. Arizona State had a center called the Levin Center, which has been extremely active in all sorts of minority activities. They have an REU. They have a wonderful program for transition from high school to college, many other things that they've done for many years. And they have Sherry Woodley, who is the administrator of that program. In fact, we worked very closely with her back when we had the conference at Arizona State, and we built very close ties. Interestingly enough, Fabio Milner, who had been a professor at Purdue University and is now at Arizona State, we knew him through the Alliance. So we were very lucky when the Levin Center decided to change somewhat their focus and direction. They turned to us and asked if we could partner with them in various ways. One idea that we had, and for us is a model for what we expect to happen in the future, is that our FGAP program that we've been talking about, it has grown and grown and grown and grown, and we've needed some sort of professional infrastructure for that. And ASU is now providing that for us. Sherry and her staff are directly involved with FGAP. We'll be announcing in the near future great improvements to it, scaling it up so that it'll be much, much bigger. Maybe that students will begin entering it in their later junior year and that sort of thing. But more to the point, the way we've always done things with our regional alliances and everything else we do is we believe that the alliance itself should be a backbone for a national community structure. And we're now hopeful and very eager to talk with our partners about spinning off some of our other programs and developing brand new programs nationally using our partners who, as you can see, are very distinguished large universities, and we expect several more of them. So we're very pleased with this new partnership and looking forward to working with them in the future.
Thank you. And we should mention we get a lot of support from our members. Phil mentioned those are departments that support us. And usually at our banquet, we read out these names and we have them stand up. We have all their students stand up, all the undergraduates who maybe went to our now doctoral students in some other program stand up. But we don't want to take the time to do that today, mostly because it probably just wouldn't be very interesting and you couldn't see them stand up. But we're really, really appreciative of all these institutions. These are our gold members. They support us very, very strongly. And we really appreciate everything they do for us. And we look forward to working with them all more closely in the future. And then we have silver members, and there's a couple of screens of these. And again, this, by the way, we're going to make sure these slides are posted up in SwapCard by the end of the day, so you can see these. You'll be able to see your logo and the other logos of these universities maybe a little more clearly. But again, we're really, really appreciative of the support we get from such a broad range of institutions, and more every year. We're getting stronger and stronger. So this is great, and this is how we're we keep going. This actually now supports us almost completely independently. So we're really happy about that. And then one last page of these folks again, how thankful we are for them. And wish it made sense to read out each of their names because they deserve to be recognized that way. I don't know if you want to say anything about that, Phil, before I
No,
jump on to
that again, we're very grateful that the community supports us this strongly, and that we've managed to make a successful transition, which is not that common, from being an NSF-funded program to a truly community-based program in terms of support and also infrastructure.
And so we just want to mention some of the things that we're doing now and looking to the future. So Phil, why don't you start? You're talking about BAM. You're really working closely on that program. So
all right, now you have to remember what it stands for. That's the only thing I can't remember. Do you remember?
No, building. Was it bridging?
Bridging. Yeah, I'll explain it. Minority masters, I think, or masters in mathematics.
Masters in mentoring is the M&M.
Yeah, they were. The title is better than, it's an acronym, and the acronym is better than the actual thing. So let me briefly tell you about this. One of the things that we all had thought about for some time is that our master's programs, I should just comment, we have, I don't know, at least 12 or 13 master's program groups, and many more master's programs that we work with. The best example for us would be the California State System Master's Program, the master's programs at the University of the Texas System, and the ones in New York City, the New York City Master's Program. There are others, of course, as well, but they form systems for us. And what we've always imagined, because we get, well, Roberto Soto is a good example. We've gotten wonderful, wonderful students from these programs. They've served, one of the things that's very sad historically is that quite often minority students are not able to stay close to home, whether it's in the South or California. A lot of the PhD programs have not historically been hospitable, although that's changing radically right now. So they've come to places like Iowa and Purdue and Minnesota. And so these are students who are 20, 21 years old. Quite often they have younger siblings at home that they have to help to support. And it would be wonderful for them to be closer to home, to, if there are gaps in their education and, more important, cultural issues, to be able to resolve them at a master's level. So these are not the old kinds of master's programs. These are master's programs that are really bridging programs. And they've de facto been that way for many years. The problem has been that they've had no support financially. That is to say, a student typically going to such a place, the support they get is just enough to pay their tuition and their insurance, their health insurance, and that sort of thing. And so they end up working 2 or 3 jobs sometimes just to go through, and it takes them many years. Our notion was that in addition to the wonderful new bridging programs that are springing up in mathematics, that perhaps it would be nice to have a network of master's programs that were also bridging programs in part, that they had the expertise for it, and that they could get supplemental funding from NSF, which is far less expensive than what some other professions do in terms of building bridging programs from the ground up, that they would just need supplemental support for these students so that they didn't have to work. Our colleagues in California, notably Oscar Vega, who and several others, John Rock and Robin Wilson, developed a program with 3 of the California state schools. I think I can name them: San Francisco State, Fresno State, and Cal Poly Pomona. And they got NSF money as of this fall, and they've set up a new program just along those lines. It's not just that they're doing it, it's that they're developing it with an intentional eye towards working with us to scale it up nationally, which we already have on the drawing board. One of the things that we're able to do is extend FGAP to this program. So we have new doctoral faculty that are designated just for BAM, and we're hoping to extend that to all of the bridging programs in mathematics, so that the students can come into those programs, have themselves a doctoral facilitator, we call it, who will be with that student for 2 years. The other thing is we're building the possibility of internships in industry, summer programs at the master's level, which are quite uncommon with our partners and members, and then we hope to be able to train these students to anything they want to do with a quantitative science. So the whole question of placement, which we've tried to tackle with FGAP, but we don't have the time in the period between the upper junior year. This would now be a leisurely process where these students would have every opportunity to use their quantitative skills in any way that they felt best. So we're very proud of it, and we're looking forward to continue.
Yep. And it's a great development. So just very briefly, we have this idea for professional development, which will be something for students who are finishing their doctoral work to help transition them into the profession, just the way that we have FGAP to transition them into the graduate programs. And that's very much we're talking about what it would be. So not a whole lot of detail there yet. Same thing with mentor training, by the way. We maybe Phil was supposed to say that, but we hate the word training, but we definitely find that we need more of that.
Yeah, we don't like the word training. In fact, I'm launching a contest. If someone could give us another name for mentor training, we would adopt it immediately. Let me explain why it's not really mentor training and what it actually is. When we first started the Alliance, and as I mentioned, we had partners at historically Black schools, partners at other minority serving institutions. These faculty were spectacular mentors. We didn't have to tell them anything. In fact, I would say at the University of Iowa that we learned everything about mentoring from our colleagues at the HBCUs. There's just no question about that. And so as we grew, and in particular now as we have wonderful mentors at our doctoral programs that are sometimes at the undergraduate level don't have a lot of minority students, we've been asked over and over again, this is not something that we do, people say to us. This is not something we have familiarity with. We would love to be doing this well, but we have no experience in working with the minority community. And of course, the Alliance being a community is the perfect place to bridge that gap and to bring people together. So we're thinking of using the expertise we have in our mentors in the Alliance to, if you will, train our new mentors as they come in. And that's the idea.
And just to build a more of an infrastructure to our mentoring community. I think that's the way to think of it. And then just very briefly, and hopefully we'll get these slides posted. We'll send them over to the folks who are handling our swap card so you can get to this link. But it's, we've started, as I said yesterday at the intro, telling our stories by video. We have 9 videos. We saw some clips from 3 of them, but we would, of course, love any of you who have doctorates and have not been had your story told in video. We'd love to try and do that, by the way. You can contact us about that. And then finally, the last few years, I think this will be the 4th year, we're going to have a special session at the joint math meetings, and that's where we feature our doctorates giving talks on their research. And so we hope to see you there. It's going to be virtual this year. So I think with that, unless you have something else, Phil, I think we're ready for questions.
No, I just want to comment that we've been asked to say that when we call for questions, we'd like the audience to refresh their browsers. It says they will need to do that for the question tab to pop up. And other than that, we're looking forward to the question.
So, hi, Ty.
Hey, Ty.
What's up?
How you doing, man?
Good. How y'all doing?
All right.
Good. Thanks for helping us out.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
So we have some comments.
Okay.
The bolstering the advancement of masters in mathematics.
That's it. Bolstering.
They say I'm a BAM scholar of Cal Poly Pomona. The program is so amazing, and I feel so lucky to be a part of it. Yeah. So Kim Seashore is one of my wonderful co-PIs on the BAM program grant.
Yes, we forgot to mention Kim. Absolutely, she's at San Francisco State, and just a wonderful person in this stuff.
We have a comment saying, "Yes, please give us training."
Okay. Oh, okay.
Believe me, we need some ourselves. So
yeah. But I think David is right. The trick here is infrastructure, and I should have said that. David made the exact point. We have somebody that we're fairly confident is going to take this on as an associate director, and then we're going to be really pleased with the results. I think this has to be done in a structured way. I think. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but we'd love to. We've tried a couple of times to find a way to get that up and running, and haven't found the best way. But we're working on it. We're definitely working on it.
We have a name suggestion for the mentor training.
Good.
Maybe call
Excellent.
it mentor development.
Development.
Why didn't we think of that?
Yeah. Development. Okay, that's what it's going to be called.
Thank you. This is why we're a community.
Yes.
I got a comment. I am too a BAM scholar at Cal State Fresno, just like Nikita. I am so proud and humbled to be a part of the first cohort.
So you guys are gonna make me cry now.
Yeah. I've gotten to know these students pretty well. Luckily for us, I mean, what's great about the structure is that they have maybe six or seven students that are actually supported on the NSF grant, but then they've included another 5 students or so, and I think that'll be the process. So we're so lucky to have the BAM organization with us, and we love these students, and we're looking forward to them getting PhDs and becoming leadership in the Alliance.
We have a question. Can you say a little bit about the regional alliances? I heard there's one in the Alabama region now. Those were the questions.
That's alliances. Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah. So one of the things is for several years now, actually, the model for us was the Pacific Alliance, which grew up around Los Angeles in the Cal State system. Elena Noronha really sort of developed that single-handedly. But it was a model for us, and we now have really strong regional alliances, not only in California, and that one is expanding out to cover more of California, maybe all of California. The Gulf states covers Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi. We have a very good regional alliance around the St. Louis area, covering St. Louis and Western, Illinois. We are starting one in Indiana, and with Chicago as sort of a together. And then we have one in New York City. And just recently, as mentioned, there's been a move to develop one, or maybe we actually need several regional alliances in the Southeast. So, and yes, Alabama, University of Alabama has been involved in those discussions. We look forward to working with them. Also our partners at Georgia State. University of Alabama and University of Alabama. Yeah, both are interested in that.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And we had a big meeting about a little over a year ago. And of course, right now a lot of things have been delayed by the pandemic. And I think that's one that we can say definitely has not gone as fast as we had hoped, probably for that reason. But they recently had a meeting, I think, in fact, I know they had a meeting about 3 or 4 weeks ago to start developing exactly that region, Florida, Alabama, Georgia, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, let me just comment too. I'm happy we had this question. Everybody who's listening, who's faculty, of course students as well, but the way we build this is through faculty. We would love you first and foremost, if you're not presently an Alliance Mentor, to sign up on the website, or you can drop us a note and ask us how to do that. Once you're an Alliance Mentor, or if you're presently an Alliance Mentor, and you're interested in being a part of a regional alliance in your area, please drop us a note, because that's the way we do these things. We find leadership, and then we develop them. So as Dave said, there are several regional alliances beginning in the Southeast. And if you let us know if you're interested in that, we'll put you in touch with the appropriate people.
Yeah, we should mention, and the Mid-Atlantic too. Carolinas, Virginia. I mean, there's a lot of activity around regional alliances. And we also think that that's where a lot of our future activity has to happen. Because we need that scale. I mean, we can't get a whole lot bigger in the, for instance, this conference is probably a little bigger than it would be in person, because you're all able to join us virtually, and we're really happy about that. But we don't think if we got too much bigger at the Field of Dreams that we'd be serving ourselves well. So we think a lot of activity has to happen at the regions.
Yeah, also we should comment that, just to give you a couple of examples, namely the Pacific Regional Alliance and the Gulf states, and there are many other examples as well, the number of undergraduate students that we can serve, what we call Alliance Scholars, just goes up exponentially. So, for example, we would love to have a regional alliance in the Boston area, Massachusetts. We have individual mentors there that are doing wonderful jobs and finding students. But if that could be done in an organizational way, including all of the community colleges, all of the state schools, the numbers would go up enormously. So in urban areas where we'd like to see partnerships between doctoral institutions and the state schools, as we see in California, and also in the rural areas where we have minority serving institutions, every kind of partnership, any regional alliance is going to be, as Dave said, our next step in many ways.
So Ty, I think you're still there, right?
Yeah. First, yeah, I was told my face was whatever. I shouldn't be on screen, so I took my face off.
Oh
no. You made me smaller, and that's a good thing always. My picture smaller.
So a happy birthday to you, David, is a comment from the thing. So happy birthday.
And thank you all for blowing up my phone this last hour. That was, thank you, Phil. It's going to take me like 5 hours to go through all that. Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate it.
What did you turn, 46, 47, something like that?
What? 59.
59 years old. Okay, so next year,
I wouldn't believe
next year, we're going to have the big one.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead, Ty.
So another question comes up. Wanted to know if Math Alliance, if it's tracking their PhDs after graduation, and what are they working on? What are they doing post-graduation? If there's some information about that.
Yeah, we actually try to track this as closely as we can. It involves our students participating by answering their surveys and letting us know. So that is, we try and keep as active as possible in terms of knowing when students are finishing their PhDs, where they go, if they move to the next step in their career. Rebecca Lank, we should mention, at Purdue, handles all our data. She does an incredible job keeping track of that. It helps if the students contact her directly, but sometimes she just goes out and finds you through LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, wherever you are, she'll find you. But it's, of course, easiest if you answer the survey or even just send her an email saying, I've moved or I've completed my PhD and this is my first job. We love to hear that. And we try and feature that both here, sometimes in our newsletter. And yeah, we definitely, I think, are getting to the critical mass where we should have some infrastructure for that too, some kind of community for our doctorates. I think would be really appropriate so they can be in touch with each other, help each other out, etc., as they develop their careers.
Let me just comment. I think this is just my impression, and David can correct me if I'm wrong. I think we've seen a move over the last 5 years or so from, I think historically, because we basically replicated ourselves. We had a number of students at, say, at Iowa, getting PhDs and then going themselves and teaching at all levels, university level, state college level, etc. But I noticed now, just looking down the list, that we have some students in quite remarkable jobs in industry. I mean, really high level jobs.
And you've seen a couple even this weekend. So yesterday, David Murillo,
yes,
one of our students, he's at American Express. And this morning, you heard from those of you who went for the preparing for your first professional job, heard from Ariel Leslie, who's now just started at Boeing. And I think later this afternoon, you'll hear from two more, April Harry and Julia Anderson Lee are both Alliance doctorates who are working outside of academia. Yeah. And we're really proud of that, and we think we're going to see more and more of that, of course.
Yeah, they're doing awesome. So we have a question that has 3 parts, but then there's a comment that goes with the first part of the question.
Okay.
And just a correction, Ariel is at Lockheed.
I'm sorry, Lockheed. Yes, my fault. It's Julia who's at Boeing.
So the 3-part question starts off with how do the regional alliances interact with the alliance? I mean, to that part, we have a comment that says folks in PA have met about and are trying to figure out what our region would look like. And then the other 2 parts of the question are the mentor networks separate, and do students do both of those?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we like to think of the regional alliances as they're autonomous. They generally share our goals and principles. We have a template for how they develop, and also Oscar, one of the great things he's done is develop a sort of a boilerplate for bylaws for a regional alliance. And so they have their own structure and focus. So for instance, here in Indiana, we have a focus on data science. That doesn't mean we are not interested in students who are interested in other things, but we would like a lot of our activity to focus on the fact that data science is an emerging field and also a great entree into the mathematical sciences. So, and that's different than the NAGS, but also we share information. So when a student becomes a scholar in the Math Alliance, if they are in a region that has a regional alliance, we send their name to they become part of the regional alliance automatically, and vice versa. That doesn't always work perfectly, but that's the way it's supposed to work.
And then can we hear the other questions again? The other part of that question time?
Yes, of course. Are the mentor networks separate from the regional alliance? I'm assuming that's what it falls back to. And do the students do both of these things?
So actually, I think David just answered that. Yeah, each regional alliance has its own mentor network and its own students, but all of them are part of the national alliance. So yes, that's how that works.
But and more, students will be working with the regional alliance right up until they get into FGAP, for instance, and then we'll be working together with them. But for instance, just the capacity of the Field of Dreams conference to handle sophomores and juniors is getting smaller and smaller as we get more and more students into FGAP. So.
Our next question, maybe outside the scope of Math Alliance, but one challenge faced at some urban universities is very poor K-12 education.
Yes. Now, let me just comment on another one of our things on the drawing board, and that is that there's a wonderful program at Arizona State, and anyone who's interested in discussing this further, I'd love to be in touch with you. There's a program called the Joaquin Bustos program. It's been there for a long time. It's supported by the state and not just the university. And it's a simple enough program in principle where students in the summer of I believe the transition from 8th to 9th grade, or maybe 9th to 10th grade, go to Arizona State, and they take courses that are designed for students that would be coming in with background issues. But instead of taking them as freshmen in college, they're taking them between the 9th and the 10th grade. The plan, someone there at Arizona State commented that almost every minority student is within 30 or 40 miles of a state school, maybe a 4-year school, maybe a community college, and that there'd be no reason in the world that we couldn't build a web of Joaquin Bustos programs that would begin to address the issue in other ways than the ways that are presently addressed. And of course, in an urban place, whether it's a big state school or a big private institution, they would be a perfect place for that. So anyone who's interested in that, let me know, and I'll put you in touch with the folks at Arizona State who are interested in that kind of thing.
So I think we have one last question, and I'm gonna go ahead and apologize to Edre and anybody else that if I mess up any of these names. But before this session is over, Professor Goins wants to know Herbie Hancock, Ramsey Lewis, or Thelonious Monk.
Thelonious Monk.
Thelonious Monk. You're too young to know Thelonious time.
I'm gonna go with Herbie Hancock myself, but
oh no, I go with Thelonious Monk. Oh come on, I know Edre goes with Thelonious Monk too.
Maybe it's because when he played at Purdue a couple of years, he set off the fire alarm. He got so hot, literally as they were doing their closing number, the fire alarm went. At first we thought it was part of the show to have all these lights go off, and then he just stopped and said, "I think we got to leave the building." And we set off the fire alarm. So
who was the other ones? Herbie Hancock, Thelonious Monk, and who's the other one? Ty?
Ramsey Lewis.
Ramsey Lewis.
Yeah,
Ramsey Lewis is fantastic.
Look, they're all great, but I go with Thelonious Monk. I mean, that's my generation.
That's not a fair question, Edre. But thank you. I go with Herbie. Hancock. He's been much more present in my life. I love Thelonious and Ramsey Lewis, but yeah.
All right, we got to solve.
All right. So no more questions. I guess I guess we're out of time. So thank you all for listening and paying attention. All the questions. It's great to have this conversation. We'd love to be having it in person, of course. Next year, hopefully, we'll be back to doing this face to face.
All right. Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Phil and David, for such a wealth of information about all the exciting updates with the Alliance. FGAP, BAM, professional development, these were all great. And once again, happy birthday, David. I can't promise you that's the last time you're going to hear that today. Bon appetit!